Back in the olden days of the early 1990s, I was in college and I had to do a presentation in front of the class. Nothing crazy, just a marketing assignment, do all the work, present it. I was dreading it. I was not looking forward to it. Now, to make this make a little more sense, let's go back a little further into the 1980s. Holy cow. When I was in grade 6, I had to do a social studies assignment, and the end of that was to present it to the class. And I'm not kidding you, I refused to do it. I did the whole assignment. I did all the work. I just wasn't going to stand up in front of the class. Teacher tried everything to encourage me to do it. I wouldn't go. He threatened me with a 0, thinking it would kick me in the butt. Wouldn't do it. He even gave me the 0 and showed it to me on the books, and then came back to me and said, hey, I'll give you another chance. Wouldn't do it. I just flat out refused. There was no way. Now, I've talked about this a little bit. I am a world-class introvert, especially back then. If being an introvert was in the Olympics, I would be on the national team. There's no doubt about it. And 12 years old, I just was having none of it. So he gave me the 0. I figured I would make it up somewhere else. Let's move back into college. I had no intention of taking a 0. I was going to get this done, but I was not looking forward to it. So I did the assignment. I sat down to write out my report. I couldn't get it done. I couldn't get it out. Of course, I was putting it off, but when push came to shove, I couldn't get it out. We got to the night before my presentation. Nothing. I tried. I couldn't get it out. Woke up the morning of my presentation. I had nothing. I knew the material. I had decided I wasn't going to take the 0. That was close as I got. Anyway, I was at the college. I had about an hour left. Again, I was going to class. I wasn't going to get the 0. But there was no way I could script out a whole thing at that point. So I just made a few point form notes. Thought this is going to be it. When it gets to that part of the assignment, I'll practically get a 0 on it, but the whole assignment was good, so I'd be all right. Showed up, did the assignment, got through it. At the end of the day, the teacher actually complimented me on it and acknowledged the fact and told me that doing it that way becomes a lot more natural than standing there reading a piece of paper, which is what pretty much everybody was doing. I don't know how I came off natural, because I was not into it. I was not having it. But he liked it, said it was good. Let's move forward, backward, whichever, into more recent times with YouTube videos. I think that's one of the reasons I started doing YouTube videos, was because of all my introverted tendencies and everything else. So in terms of YouTube, I want to talk about scripted versus point form versus unscripted, and a few pros and cons for each. Now, since I've already given it away, I got some point form on my phone that I will be referring to. And I forgot to open it before I got here. We'll start with scripted. One of the pros is you can make it super polished. You can get every detail in there. You can say exactly what you want to say and not miss anything. Big pro. If you happen to have a lot of nerves, as I did, back in the day, you can always fall back to the script. You get too nervous and forget everything, go back to the script. I think those are the two biggest pros for scripting everything out. Cons. I think the biggest con is it can sound unnatural. It can be very robotic. You might even look like you're reading it from a piece of paper or a teleprompter. And that's just not, it's not natural. It's not who you are. Another con is prep time. If you have to write the whole thing out, it's going to take you a long time. There's just no way around it. Secondly, I think if you're in the position where you want to write it all out, thinking you want it to be perfect, you're probably going to spend a lot more time trying to make it perfect, which is going to take even longer. Prep time, through the roof. And the last major con for me is a script doesn't allow you to pivot in the moment. If you're sitting at a desk just doing the thing, that's all right. You don't need to pivot much. Maybe you realize you forgot something. If you're outside doing things and something happens, you can't pivot with the moment, and the rest of your script might be a total mess because something's missing. So to me, those are the biggest pros and cons of a script. Oh, let's look at a few pros for point form. One pro, I think, it gives you a little bit of structure and balance to what you're going to say. You can point in your beginning, your your beginning, your middle, and your end. So you have that structure to fall back on. Now, it can be much more natural. This is a big pro for me. Much more natural. Because you're just going to say what you're going to say. You're going to be you, you're going to move like you, you're going to speak like you. Because you've not tried to memorize lines. All else being said, I think being natural is huge. Another pro compared to scripting is your prep time goes way down. If you're just going to make 5, 6, 10 notes, it doesn't take very long. It might take a little bit of time trying to figure out which ones you want, not forgetting which points, but very low prep time. Cons. There are definitely some cons to point form. While you're talking, you might drift a little bit. You might wander into areas you don't want to be, like over there by the rocks. But you've got that structure to fall back on. You can always pause for a minute. Hey, what are my notes? Get back on track and go. Another con is you could miss some key details. They might just float away in the moment. Whoa. You might throw your phone on the ground too. But those key details, they float away and they just don't come to mind and you don't think about it. You could miss them. So that is a con. Now, if you've got some ultra key moments that you really want to make sure you get, just make sure they're in your point forms. But that is a con. So for me, that's kind of where point form sits. Unscripted. Some pros for unscripted. It can definitely be natural. You're going to come in with one thought. You're just going to talk about it. So it can definitely be very natural, as long as you can talk on your feet. And of course, you have to know the subject matter. If I was going to go unscripted on building rockets, it's not going to fly. But if I go unscripted on snowboarding, I'll be okay. Another pro, related to the other ones, prep time. Practically nothing. You just kind of got to decide what you're going to talk about. And again, as long as you know the subject matter, there's really no prep time. And the last pro is you're in the moment. So you're feeling more natural. but you're just in the moment. Whatever comes to mind, whatever happens around you, right? You're in the moment. You can pivot, you can change, you can move. Now you kind of got to be comfortable with some of that stuff already and not too self-conscious about everything. But being natural, pivoting, being in the moment, those are big pros for unscripted. Some cons. Cons to being unscripted. You leave yourself open to rambling. I've probably done that a little bit here already because I've just got a few points. But it's pretty easy to just start rambling and talking and aimlessly being all over the place. And that can lead into another con, which is making editing really hard. So if you're not coming in already knowing, hey, I'm going to do these things, I'm going to cut my edit here and there, editing can be really tough. If you wander around, it might just not make sense when you make some cuts. It might feel really jumpy and kind of unnatural as far as that goes. The last con for me, I think, I touched on it with rambling a bit, is repeating yourself and forgetting things. So if you get rambling or you get flustered, you might start repeating everything you've said. And sometimes that can be a way to get back on track if it's short, but if you start repeating long bits, it can make your video boring. You can also forget things, just flat out forget whole segments. Now, you can always re-record, you can do voiceovers, you can do things like that. But it's never quite going to be the same. It's never going to sound and look quite the same. So those are some of the big cons for me with free flow, unscripted, freeform. Now I think I've given it away a little bit, a lot. I've flat out given it away. I prefer the point form. Gives you that structure. You can always come back and go, oh man, I forgot step 3. Re-record it, do your thing. But it lets you feel natural. It lets you be you, right? And when I'm doing this, I'm talking like me. I'm acting like me. I'm not robotically memorizing some lines that I wrote that don't sound like how I speak. All of that. So, looking back at all the videos I've made, I've done all the various formats. I've come out literally right here with no thoughts and just talk. Now, usually those videos are only a minute or two. And that was back in the days before shorts and short form was really a thing. But I would just come out and talk a couple things. I've done fully scripted, trying to hit everything. And I got to repeat things 3, 4, 5 times. I've got to edit things like crazy. The final product just looks a little unnatural and doesn't feel like a conversation. It feels like I'm shouting one-liners again and again. So for me, point form, wide open point form is the way to go to be the most natural and the most in the moment. So I'm going to ask you, if you make videos, what do you prefer? Where's your sweet spot, right? Or maybe you don't make the videos. Lots of people don't. When you're watching the videos, what do you prefer? If you can tell. Now, some people might be really, really good at the scripted and make it look like an unscripted thing. I mean, some people, not me. But what do you prefer to watch? And not necessarily vlog versus tutorial, because you could do a tutorial totally unscripted or point form and be natural. So, and now, since I didn't write down my wrap up and my finish to this video, I started to ramble, just like I said. I'm not cutting it out, I'm leaving it in. Just looking for your thoughts. Leave a comment down below. What's your preferred method to do? What's your preferred method to watch? Well, and I also forgot. My name's Mike. I live here next to the Rocky Mountains. Oh, you can't see them. There's Rocky Mountains over that little hill. And I talk about stuff and I go outdoors. That's what I do on this channel. Leave a comment down below. Let me know where you're at. That's it. I'll see you on the next one.